The stadium saga enters a new chapter. Missouri leaders want the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals to stay put in the Show Me State, and they're turning to Jackson County leaders, hoping they'll show them results. They met at the state capitol last week, along with lone Kansas City councilmen, behind closed doors in the governor's office to discuss the best ways to keep the teams where they are. Leaders say there's much more of a sense of a deadline looming now, with a deal in Kansas on the clock that we'll get to in a moment. We're told much of the discussion centered on the Chiefs and that the meeting was constructive.
What we left with today was 3 levels of government working together, probably in a historic way, to talk about these economic development projects. That better deal is going to come only when that happens. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to go do our work that we were tasked to do from here and kind of meet again, I'm sure, soon.
Governor Kehoe's office put out a statement right after the talks, writing, "The governor will explore the use of every tool at his disposal to protect jobs, economic growth, and investment in Missouri. However, any action taken must be a good return on investment for Missourians." As those conversations play out, a state senator from neighboring Clay County is working on another plan to keep the teams in Missouri. Senator Maggie Nurnberg has a bill asking the General Assembly to approve a county sports complex authority there.
This has never been about pitting Jackson versus Clay County. This is making sure that the teams have all the options on the table to find a spot that will work well for them.
A sports authority in Clay County could potentially give the Chiefs, let's say, another option to relocate or move their training facility. The senator says she's spoken with team representatives. Remember, all of this is happening because of the failure to get a deal done last year in Jackson County. Voters shot down plans to help fund a Royals ballpark downtown and Arrowhead renovations after a rushed rollout of a stadium sales tax proposal and a tumultuous back and forth with county leaders. That led to both teams taking a step back and splitting up their joint pitch to fans.
We went all in and failed pretty badly.
Leaders for both the Chiefs and Royals have said all options are on the table as they work to strike a deal they say is in the best interest of the team and fans. Their leases run out in 2031, so time is of the essence here. Royals team chairman and CEO John Sherman told reporters at training camp last month talks are in the works and there's a lot riding on what's decided.
I think this is going to be a very exciting thing for our community, right? It's about economic development. It's also about securing the long-term home for the Royals. We're working very hard, and when we got a deal that's buttoned up and we're ready to talk about, we're looking forward to being able to do that.
Sherman said he hopes to have something to announce in the middle of this year. So the clock is ticking for local leaders and the team to come to an agreement. Will that happen? And what would that look like? Jackson County Legislator Sean Smith is here to get to the heart of the matter. Thanks so much for being here. First off, you were in the room where it happened, so to speak, right? In Jeff City last week, talking to state leaders. What came out of that meeting?
Yeah, so we had a great conversation. The focus was really about how we preserve the Jackson County Sports Complex Authority, make sure that there's funding there to do anything that's needed. And we also emphasize the idea that our local constituents here need property tax relief, and that hasn't happened. It's been too long in coming. And I heard a great amount of commitment from people that said, yeah, we'll get to work on that immediately. So I felt great about the meeting, both for purposes of retaining the teams and for purposes of helping fix an issue that we've had in this town for a long time.
In your eyes, do you have to get past property taxes before we get to the Chiefs and Royals?
I think if you want the public's support, the property tax thing needs to be addressed in a real and tangible and concrete way. And I think state lawmakers seem to have some ideas on that.
Obviously, the biggest threat to plans in Missouri, right, involve potential deals in Kansas.
Yeah.
What sort of buy-in are you getting from state leaders in Missouri to try to prevent a big move for either team?
Yeah, so I'd say that there seems to be a high level of commitment. The focus, this particular meeting, I would say, was more on the Chiefs. I know you opened with a comment from the Royals. They seem to be talking now about economic development. So that really changes the context. We've always believed that was important for them. If that's really important for them, then I think understanding that and seeing what our options are to incentivize them to remain here in Missouri is also, the more informed we are about what they're trying to accomplish, the better we can get close to helping them accomplish that.
Yeah, you mentioned just the Chiefs and not so much the Royals. Are you more optimistic about keeping one team over another? What are you thinking?
My goal's always been that we keep both teams, and my first choice would be that they both continue to play at the Jackson County Sports Complex. Now, the Royals have been really clear that's not what they want. The other part of it, I would say, is that it seems that the teams have always had this parity arrangement. The reality is that now we're seeing more and more that the two teams' needs and desires and plans are different. So I think we have to start to change that context as well. This is no longer a situation, I think, where whatever one team gets, the other team has to have an equal share, because the reality is they're really headed in two different directions, different business models. It really needs to be treated like two separate just corporations that we want to preserve in Missouri. That's what this is. This is a state, Kansas, trying to take Missouri businesses away from Missouri, and so the state's really committed to making sure that that doesn't happen with these teams and with other businesses.
You told the reporters last week that the county legislature hadn't heard a peep, were your words, from County Executive Frank White. Did that change after Wednesday?
No, so I haven't heard anything from Mr. White in some time, and I'm not surprised by that. He plays his cards really close to the vest.
Yeah, we did ask him to come on. Instead, we were given a statement saying that talks continue with the teams, which much of the engagement, as you said, going toward the Chiefs, he said, especially from the county. He also wrote about the importance of addressing community needs, writing that any solution must not only ensure that the Chiefs and the Royals continue to call Jackson County home, but also provide meaningful progress on the issues that matter most to residents. He says he'll support taxpayer funding if the deal delivers tangible results to Jackson County. Is that in the same vein of what you're talking about with property taxes, or how do you read that?
Mr. White's statements that come out from whoever writes them, I don't think have a great deal of clarity, so that could mean many things. I think property tax relief would be huge. That's not been a priority for him. He could have fixed this long ago, this property tax issue, but he chooses not to worry about that. And just to be clear, the tax that the voters rejected, average household was going to pay maybe $100 a year. The kind of burdens that we're putting on them with the property tax problems are often thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars per year. These are two very distinct things in terms of how they impact household budgets. And I would just say that if we can get the state to do something that protects our residents from ever increasing property tax problems, then I think that we really have turned a corner in terms of hoping to gain trust back. The trust that we lost with our residents through, basically, I think well-deserved loss, right? We blew it, we needed to correct it, and it's taken too long. My hope is that between a court decision and state action, we get that corrected soon. That changes the context for, I think, how people look at the county and their willingness to trust us to make good fiduciary responsible decisions about the two biggest assets we have in these stadiums.
Real quick, do you think a sales tax ballot measure will go back to the voters?
Not right now. Yeah. So I look forward to maybe someday being able to ask the voters for their trust like that. But I think until we fix the problems we have, they don't trust us, and I think it would get defeated again. So why would we ask again?
All right. County Legislator Sean Smith, thanks so much for your time.